A lot of people wonder if it's possible to manage anxiety without turning to medication. It's a huge question, and today we're going to dive right into the answers. We're going to break down a whole bunch of different strategies, everything from powerful therapies to simple changes in your daily life, all backed by research.
So, if you're kind of looking around, exploring different paths for your own mental well being, think of this as your starting point. We're going to walk through the options together so you can feel a little clearer and more confident about what's out there.
Okay, so before we dive in, let's just hit pause for a second on what is, without a doubt, the single most important thing we're going to talk about. This is all here to help you get informed, but you should always work with a doctor or a mental health professional to figure out what's right for you. And I really can't say this enough. Please never ever stop taking a prescribed medication on your own. Your safety is absolutely priority number one.
Awesome. Okay, so here's the game plan. First, we're going to look at strategies that are all about the mind. Then we'll get into that powerful link between our bodies and our mental health. After that, we'll talk about why support systems are such a game changer. And finally, we'll wrap it all up by talking about how to build your own personal toolkit and when it's time to get some help. Sound good? Let's start with the brain. All right, first up, training your brain. It's pretty amazing when you think about it, that we can actually actively train our minds to respond to stress in a totally new way. We're going to look at a couple of therapies that get right to the source by working with our thought processes. So get this. The American Psychological Association actually points out that for a lot of people, psychotherapy, talk therapy, isn't just some alternative to meds. It can often be more effective. And why is that? Well, because medication can be great for managing symptoms, but therapy gives you skills and tools that you can use for the rest of your life. And when we talk about therapy, one of the real heavy hitters is cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT. The idea behind it is actually pretty simple, but it's so powerful. It's that our thoughts, our feelings, and our actions are all connected. You can almost picture them like a line of dominoes. If you can learn to change that first domino, your thought, you can change how all the others fall. So what does that actually look like in practice? Well, the CBT process is pretty hands-on. First, you kind of become a detective of your own mind, learning to catch those automatic negative thoughts right when they pop up. Then you basically put those thoughts on trial. You challenge them, you question if they're actually true, and finally, you start practicing new, healthier ways of thinking, building up those new mental muscles over time. But it's not all just talk therapy. There's some really fascinating tech-based stuff out there now too. One of them is called Transcranial Magnetic Stimulation, or TMS. I know, it sounds super complex, but the idea is that it uses magnetic fields to gently stimulate the parts of the brain that help regulate our mood. It's totally non-invasive. Now, this is still a pretty new field, right? But the early signs are really, really promising. A big review back in 2019 found that TMS might be a real help for people dealing with things like generalized anxiety and PTSD. It's just another potential tool in the toolkit, which is always good news. Okay, so we've talked about what's going on upstairs. Now let's talk about the rest of you. The connection between our physical, day-to-day habits and our mental state it's huge. And the cool thing is, these are strategies you can start thinking about and building into your life, like right now. We're going to focus on three big areas here: how we move our bodies, what we put in them, and how we actively work to calm ourselves down. You've probably heard this a million times, but exercise is a big one. It looks like getting that heart rate up, that high-intensity aerobic stuff, could be especially good for anxiety. Researchers are still digging into all the specifics, but that basic link between moving your body and easing your mind, it's solid. And what you put in your body, that matters a ton too. The sources really highlight a few things to keep an eye on, like maybe cutting back on caffeine and alcohol, since both of those can kind of crank up the dial on anxiety. And here's a really practical tip. Try keeping a food log. It can help you start to see patterns and connect the dots between what you eat and how you feel. And speaking of caffeine, check this out. This really paints a picture. A big analysis from just this year, 2024, found a super clear link. The more caffeine people consumed, the higher their risk of anxiety tended to be. It just makes sense, right? Caffeine is a stimulant. It's like putting your foot on the gas pedal of your nervous system. For some of us, that's just too much. And then, of course, there's just chilling out, actively managing that stress. And the best part is you've got so many options. You could try something physical like progressive muscle relaxation, or something as simple as taking a walk outside, or even just putting your phone away for an hour, or taking a warm bath with some good music. It's really all about figuring out what helps you recharge. Okay, let's switch gears to something that is just so important, but we sometimes forget about it: connection. You really, truly don't have to go through this stuff on your own.
You know, anxiety has this nasty habit of making you feel like you're the only one in the world going through it. It's so isolating. And that's exactly why building a support system is critical. It's not just about feeling less alone. It's about getting real, practical advice from people who actually get it.
And support doesn't just mean one thing. There are a bunch of different flavors. Maybe you'd like the privacy of an online forum you can check anytime. Or maybe you crave that face-to-face connection of a local group. Or you might want the structure of a group that's actually led by a therapist. The point is, there's something out there for everyone. And hey, support isn't just about showing up to a meeting. It's also about empowering the people already in your life. Helping your family and friends understand what's going on can make a world of difference. And don't forget about bigger picture support, like asking for accommodations at school or work that can take some of that daily pressure off.
Whew. Okay, we've covered a ton of ground. So let's tie it all together and talk about maybe the most important part of this whole conversation: knowing when it's time to reach out and get some professional help on your team. So, when is it time to actually pick up the phone and call a doctor? We've talked about all these different tools: therapy, lifestyle changes, support. But how do you know when it's time to bring in a pro to help you figure it all out?
Well, the signs are pretty clear. If your anxiety is just always there, or if it's really starting to get in the way of your daily life, your sleep, or your relationships, that's a big sign. Experiencing panic attacks is another one. Or just that feeling that your level of anxiety is way bigger than the thing you're stressed about. That's when it's time to make that call. So really, here's the big takeaway. Everything we've talked about today: CBT, exercise, support groups, stress relief — think of it like building your own personal wellness toolkit. It's not about just picking one thing. It's about working with a professional to find the right combination of tools that works just for you.
So I'll leave you with this final thought. You don't have to fix everything all at once. Looking at all these different options, what's just one small, manageable thing you could do today to support yourself? Thanks for tuning in.